They like the stream now on YouTube, I guess. So, internet and live audience. What are you guys most excited about hearing for the God of War card game? No, nothing. Art. Who plays God of War at home? Okay. All right. Yeah, there's some people that are heavily invested in all that lore and everything with the video game and stuff, which is fantastic. All right, we got people coming in on the internet. Hello. And we should be starting up here in probably about 3 minutes or so, okay? So I'm just here to hang out with you guys for a few minutes. And again, if you're just joining us on the internet, make sure and tag all of your questions with hashtag CMON Expo 2019 and then hashtag God of War CG. Hey Chris, how's it going? Hello Russell. Yes, they do have it out this weekend at the expo, so you are able to go ahead and check it out. And we'll have to take some pictures and stuff and some video of that for you guys so you can see it. I'm sure it will absolutely be on. And as well as I believe we have a camera set up so you guys are going to be able to see it on camera live as well on the internet. So you guys are going to be able to see a lot of the art and details of the cards and everything on there. So that's fantastic. Okay, and we are up on YouTube as well now. Awesome, fantastic. So we have Facebook and YouTube, and you guys can actually comment together online. So we have audience in person, and we have YouTube and Facebook all together. It's super amazing. So excited. Can you what? Oh, absolutely. We need a pen. Behind the scenes stuff, guys. All right. Looking forward to seeing the combat system already. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had a chance to sit down and play the game just yet, so I'm excited too just to see how it all plays through and everything. And we've actually played the video game as well, so I'm already interested in the lore. With Bloodborne, I hadn't played that one yet, so I was like, oh, dang it, now I'm gonna have to go back. I actually went out and bought the video game for that, so I could go back and play it just because I'm like, all right, now I gotta play the video game because I have the board game. All right, guys, thanks so much for everybody joining us today. We're going to be starting here really soon. Is everybody on the table ready? Nope. Yes? All right, we will be live here in a few minutes. We will see you guys in just a moment.
CMON Expo 2019. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it, especially those of you who are joining us so early in the morning, and those of you wonderful people who are joining us there from the UK. We're super excited to have everyone here this morning. We're going to be talking about God of War. We have with us Alex OIteanu, who is one of the game designers on the game, and then we also have our head of game design here with us, Eric M. Lang. So we've got the stream's open for you guys to answer or ask us questions that we will answer. And we will do that through Twitter and Facebook using the hashtag GodOfWarCG. And we're also offering prizes at the end of the show to folks that are asking questions during these panels. And this applies to folks here who are asking questions, folks in the UK, folks all over the world. So feel free to ask us those questions online so that way we can kind of get them into our stream here. So just to kind of get us kicked off and started, I've got a few questions for you guys for myself.
All right.
Alex, can you tell us a little bit about just big picture of what the game is? Like, what are we trying to do? What are we accomplishing in the world of God of War?
All right. So one of the cool things that we had a really good relationship with SMS Studio along all the work, and we got to a really cool story here for this game, which is different from any other published game they have for video games. In God of War, the card game, you'll be playing as Norns, Seers of the Future, and you're actually trying to find a future where Ragnarok does not happens. Okay, so you'll be controlling Kratos, Atreus, the characters you play in the video game. However, you're trying to find a different ending from the video game, which we were able to discuss with SMS Studio and come to that.
So it's a co-op game, correct?
Exactly, it's a cooperative game.
One,
Uh,
1 to 4.
yeah, in which you can control Kratos, you can control Atreus, you can be Freya. That's one of the cool things. You can play with characters that are actually NPCs in the video game, like Freya, for example, Brock and Sindri, and Mimir,
And my
which
favorite.
is yeah, actually just a head. You can play as a head.
Right?
I'm guessing
You
you don't.
have
I'm guessing you don't
Atreus.
move too much.
Yeah, he
playing
has
as a-
some rules exceptions for sure.
Because you're always ahead of the party.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh, that was a joke, right?
You're
Right.
I feel like Michael would appreciate that joke.
Yeah.
We know how much he loves puns.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's my
Mhm.
favorite.
And so you get to play cooperatively as one of these players, and you could play on your own, correct? Like it's
Yeah.
a 1 to 4
Yeah.
player.
It's 1 to 4 players. You can play cooperative, 2 to 4, and you actually have a solo mode which you'll be controlling only Kratos in his backside, and you have help from Atreus and Mimir. I'll be explaining about the game later. Then I can get more into the details on how to play solo and how to play cooperative.
Hmm.
But sure, you have a solo mode.
Awesome, awesome. And so, what was it like, kind of like getting to work on this title? Like, how did you find out? How was it working with SMS Studios? What was
So
that
we-
like?
Yeah.
We knew before. I got to know before you.
Yeah, you got to know before.
So we have a great licensing coordinator, Jeff Skinner, who may or may not be in the audience, who is telling us, who told us that that we have the potential for a God of War license. I'll be honest, I didn't know that you guys were fans, but when I told you when I told the dev team about the game, I told Alex, of course, he went crazy over it. The other designer, Fel Barros, actually was playing God of War. I could hear it when I called him. I could hear God of War in the background on him playing it on the PS4.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
natural choice.
So Fel and Eric already know I was like a big fan of the franchise,
Mhm.
and I have a PS4. And Eric or Fel, I don't remember who came to me with the game and said, "Hey Alex, why don't you play God of War? It's a really good game." And I was like, "Okay, I can play it." I was playing. I got crazy over the game, and a few weeks later, Eric came to me and said, "Hey, you were the lead designer for God of War, the card game," and I went crazy.
And the thing is that as a partner, SMS Studios, the studio designed God of War, they were thrilled. Like they came to us because they were looking specifically for, in their words, like new stories to tell in the God of War universe. And so it really was a partnership. They contributed a lot to to the story, the backstory that we use for this, and they approve it, endorse it, and
Mhm.
are behind it all the way.
A lot, a lot. Like they were there all over the process. We had like a lot of back and forth with them. Like it was really cool to work with SMS Studio.
And when
And-
we played the game, we got crushed.
And I know when playing the video game, what a lot of people really love is the artwork. So
Mhm.
as we can kind of see, and as you guys will get to see a little bit after this, um, it we really tried to kind of bring a lot of that artwork into this. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of like the diorama aspect of
Mhm.
it that really brings the artwork and game kind of together there?
Yeah. So first thing is that I'm a really big fan of table presence,
Mhm.
and I was aiming on that for this game, and I think we did it. We came up with this idea, this mosaic. It's actually a quest, so during the game you'll be playing quests in order to succeed. And as you can see here, this is one of the quests you'll be playing. So you have your characters. This is Atreus, this is Kratos, and you'll be playing cards. to interact with the mosaic, and the mosaic will be interacting with you back. Um, the mosaic is also a puzzle. Each one of the mosaics, the scenarios we have here, they are a different puzzle, and they are all double-faced. So things happen. For example, this dragon may strike you back, and the art changes. I think we got to a really good product with this mosaic mechanic and art together.
Wonderful, wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit about how the gameplay works? Like how do I go from, oh, I get to be Kratos
Hmm.
to fighting fighting giant awesome
Okay.
things and
You got it.
Yeah, I have it here. So, as I said before, you're trying to find a future where Ragnarok does not happen. So, first thing in the game, you have quest cards and you have boss cards. You'll be shuffling, and at random, you will be creating a path, which is the future the Norns are looking into. Okay, so the path is kind of like this. I mean, it's exactly like this. And the first quest was random and it's mandatory. So you'll be playing this quest, which becomes this mosaic here in the back. And after that, you need to choose. So let's say I'll pick the ogre. Okay, we will do this quest here. The other one will flip and it becomes like a hindrance. Something bad will happen to you. And the same happens in the final boss. You have like three possible endings for this future. One of them you will choose, and the other two they become hindrance for the last quest.
Right. So like the idea is you pick one, you choose your way through which quest you want to do, but the quests that you don't choose end up becoming a negative part of your future.
Exactly. And another cool thing, SMS is really attached to story, which we are as well. So each one of these quests, they have a lore, they have a story for uh, what happens, and they have like a story for the bad thing that can add to your adventure. And the story, actually, the path, you create a bigger story for the game. So, for example, if I play the ogre before I play the traveler, the story kind of changes.
Mhm.
Right. And they were all the quests were designed vignette style, right? So they
Yep.
work regardless of what order that you play them in. And one thing that's important to note is that there are 10 possible quests in the game, and you will only take 3 of the 6 basic ones and
Mm-hmm.
3 of the 4
Or the
boss
four
ones.
boss.
So the game is crazy replayable. It matters. It actually matters very much whether you play, like even changing this, making Alfheim the first one, the ogre one of the second ones,
Mm-hmm.
changes the game a lot.
Yeah, and experience. So, as you can see here in the background, this is one of the quests. As soon as you choose the quest you'll be playing,
Got to make it
you,
pretty.
yeah, you'll be setting up this mosaic, and you take action here. So, actually, each one of the characters, they have a dashboard. For example, this is Kratos, and they have their own starting deck. Okay, so you have 3 phases in one round. You'll be in the first phase drawing cards, so you have a hand limit of 7 at the beginning. After that, you'll be taking actions. So, how the actions work on this game? You have basically 5 different actions. Um, 2 of them is to attack. So, you can either attack melee or you can attack ranged. And in order to decide in order to decide your attack power, you need to add number cards to them. So for example, I want to make a melee attack. It gives me true power at the beginning. I can add a number card to become a 5 or a 7, or I can go crazy. The same for ranged attack. and the same for shield. So the big thing on the game is I'll be deciding if I want to make a melee attack, if I want to make a ranged attack, if I want to go full berserker in my turn, or if I want to save some cards to absorb damage later when the mosaic strikes me back.
Hmm.
Because if you
Besides,
die, you're kicked out of the
yeah,
quest.
if you're dead, you're kicked out. And besides that, you have like some purple cards, which are special actions.
Which, if you're lucky enough to be Mimir, that's almost all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So the characters they play really different between them. Uh, some of them are more attack driven, some of them are more defense driven, and some of them like Mimir,
Are
who
buff bots.
yeah, one of his special rules is you cannot attack because you were ahead. He has only special cards in his hand, so he plays the support part in which he make other players draw a card, deal more damage, heal. He actually can use the dice. We'll be talking later about the dice against the old mosaic. So he's a really cool character. It's my
Awesome.
favorite one.
And since we're talking about gameplay, I have a question from Twitter.
Okay.
At Captain Stitch asks us, "What is solo play like?" in
All
this game?
right. So uh, get a trills.
Go away, Freya.
Yeah. So you can only play with Kratos, the solo mode, just like in the video game.
Rawr. Except,
However, in his backside, of course, in the solo mode side. However, you have help from your friends, Mimir and Atreus, in their backside as well. The games plays mostly the same, except that you can ask for help. And how does this works? At any time, you can choose to use one of the Mimir or Atreus abilities, and they are once per quest. Okay. However, there's a trick here. As you can see, you have your Spartan Rage, which you'll be increasing your rage bar, and once you get to the maximum, you can spend it and use it. For the solo mode, when Kratos uses Spartan Rage, it refresh all the Atreus and Mimir abilities,
Hmm.
and basically that's how you go.
so one important thing to talk about, right, is because Spartan Rage, you got to talk about Rage.
Yeah.
Like it's a hand management game, right? So when you draw your cards, that's all you get, and you have to decide, as Alex was saying, whether you want to attack, whether you want to defend. But
Okay.
one of the key cool bits of tension is if you want to, like, you can easily just put all your cards together, make a big attack, and you have a really good chance of doing a lot of damage. But every time you use an attack of any strength, no matter what it is, you go up one rage. So it's your choice whether you want to go, do I want to make a big attack and get low in rage, or do I want to do many small ones and have a big chance of using my final power? In solo mode, there's even more pull to it because you want to be able to refresh
Yeah, that's true.
Mimir's abilities. It's only Mimir.
Hmm.
Awesome. And so the game is still sort of scenario based in a
Yeah,
sense, right?
very
Like
much.
the
Mhm.
different. Um,
Right. That this panorama here. See, I'm still calling it panorama. That's
Yeah,
what we called it in
we have called
playtest.
panorama during the whole prototype playtest stuff.
This mosaic
Quest.
here is this is one of the 10 cards. There are 9 other ones that are completely different.
Hmm.
hmm And how do we interact with the mosaic? Like how does that work?
Yeah,
Okay,
Alex.
so interacting with the mosaic will be happening by attacking the mosaic, by activating those boxes here, by playing the right cards. Um, so basically, you have a few ways to change it and to uh, like attacking. Like for example, this dragon here, each one of the parts, each one of the cards are treated as a separate enemy. Okay, so for example, for this scenario, you have to attack the paws, you have to attack the wings in order to flip, get new cards, and with those new cards, you can interact with the head, which is your objective here. You need to destroy the head in order to win this scenario. It's very specific for this scenario. Each one of the scenarios are different puzzles, and that's what bring a little bit of complexity to the game. For example, this is a little bit nostalgic. Um, you guys have played God of War, right? Do you remember the flying boat? Spoiler alert. Uh, okay, so one of the scenarios is the flying boat here, and it's kind of a tower defense. Monsters keep coming. However, you need to keep the boat flying. So as soon as you do not have more generic tokens here, the card flips, and if this rune is triggered, you just lost the game. Completely different from this dragon, where the only losing condition is to die.
Right, which
Which,
happens.
yeah,
But
sometimes.
so also it's important to note that like so during your turn you also get to decide which column you want to interact with. Each character can only interact with one column exactly, and there's two spaces, right?
Yeah,
There's
two spaces.
I'm going to do the same mistake I always do. But
Okay.
on your turn, you choose which column you want to interact with, and there's only two spots in each one, front or back. So if Kratos decides to go interact here, he can choose whether he wants to go in front of Atreus or behind him. Whoever's in front is going to take all the damage. So you can literally decide whether you want to tank or be tanked for, which is a big part of the teamwork, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to end up taking the damage?
Yeah, positioning is a big part of the game. So every time you interact, as Eric said, you interact with the column. If you play a melee attack, you have only access to the first row here. If you play a ranged attack, you have access to the second and the first row. Okay. However, it's always with the column. Uh, we have only two slots per column, and it's really important that when you're playing, you decide with a group where you're trying to go first, because like you can just stuck someone cannot like pass or enter here. If you leave Atreus, Kratos is more like a tank, so if you leave Atreus in the front, he will probably die. So
Poor kid.
yeah, poor kid. So position is a big thing uh, on this game.
And then when you're done at the end of your turn,
All right. So the second phase is actually when you play your actions, where you play your special cards, like I was saying before, where you attack. And after that, after you play your turn, you will be drawing a card. It's a deck building game. So you'll be drawing a card from the upgrade deck. And for now, the only thing that is important is this rune here, because this is how the mosaic will strike you back. Okay? We will be finding on the mosaic which cards have the same rune as this card here, and they will activate. Usually it's a monster and it will attack you. However, there are some cards that are just mechanisms. They keep like going front, like to the front, to the back. Some other cards are just like random overall damage. Some are triggers a puzzle.
yeah, some
They're
interact with each other too, which is
interact with
pretty
each
cool.
other exactly. So basically, that's how the mosaic will interact back to the player. Okay,
Right.
and that's when you have a chance to defend.
Right, yeah, so if you didn't keep any of those shield cards, you're just going to
Mhm.
take whatever the mosaic throws at you.
Yeah, exactly, and you probably die. So don't do that. After you draw one card for each player, plus one, it's the upgrade phase, and that's the cool part of the game because it's where you have the chance to improve your deck. So me and Eric here will be discussing. I want to draw more cards. I want to draw more cards. Eric wants to heal,
Fine.
and this card that was left, it goes to the bottom of the deck. And one cool thing from this version of deck building we managed to come with is that when you pick up the card, it goes straight to the top of your drawing deck, which means you will for sure have this card next turn. So sometimes you're in a really difficult situation, or you have like a window to kill the monster to actually succeed in the quest, and you know that you have this card to help you. Of course, after that, this card stays in your deck, and that's how you upgrade your character. So, depending on the cards that will appear here, you can go more attacking driven. You could go more defensive. You can be the you draw cards player.
Yeah,
It's a
the top of the deck is really interesting because that really brings like this sort of instant gratification that
Right.
you
It's also
Yep.
really cool
don't see
tension
in a
too
lot of.
because sometimes you're building a deck toward a very specific strategy, right? Like all deck building games is a little engine-y, so you want to
Mhm.
build toward a cool
Mhm.
combo. But sometimes you're like, well, I'm almost dead. Next turn, I need a healing. So it's you got that tension of like, do I want the card that's going to be really good for me next turn, but not as efficient for my engine, or am I just going to be all right? I'll be kicked out this turn. Sorry, I'm just ahead
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite character,
It's
Eric?
the only character I play.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have the matching facial hair, and I
Right?
mean, it makes sense.
He's
It makes
trying
sense.
to, right,
That's
Eric?
right.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, Alex?
I love Mimir. I love, but I think my favorite one is Freya. She's the balanced one. It's usually characters I like to use. She can attack. She can attack ranged. She can defend. She can heal. She can make you draw cards. She's overpowered because I like
She's the
her.
only one that can heal naturally, right?
No, I'm just kidding. She's balanced, but I really like having flexibility while playing games.
And in this game, if I have less than 4 players and I'm playing, is it a pretty equally balanced experience regardless of which characters I choose, right?
Yes.
It does scale. It scales
Yeah.
quite well
Yeah.
because of this.
Basically, yeah.
Mhm.
Basically, we'll be drawing one card for each player. So the more players playing is good, right? The more players playing, the more the mosaic will talk back to you, will be striking you back. So you rather have a better strategy if you're playing with more people, but you
Right.
have more action. So
You have more action, and you also actually have a chance to screw each other up a little bit, as I did famously in the game I played with SMS Studios, where
yes,
on my turn I stuck myself behind Atreus, but Atreus already went. Whoops! So he had nobody else had a chance to come tank for him, and he
yeah.
died.
This is a good thing.
Sorry,
You
SMS
you
Studios.
can you can just go behind your friend, let him die, and blame him for losing the game. It's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah,
strategy
that's right.
as
It was
well.
their fault. It
Yeah,
was their fault
yeah,
for that was their
yeah.
fault for not being
I
alive.
didn't die.
There you
Die.
go. There you go. Um, so we have another question from Twitter. This is Dharma Aramos. Thank you for joining in, Dharma. How long does a scenario take, and about how many scenarios are there?
Okay, we have 10 completely different scenarios. Each one of the scenarios take about 20 minutes. So one game you play will take about 1 hour, let's say 90 minutes the first time you play.
Okay, because
Right.
you're
Big-
playing multiple.
Yeah, you only play
scenarios.
3.
You only
Right, you
play
play
3
3.
out of the 6, out of the 10, sorry. And you play the first one, then you play the second row, then you play the third row, which is the ending. And if you succeed in the ending, you won the game. That's
Gotcha.
it. If you didn't, this is not the future where Ragnarok does not happens, and you have to try again.
Ah, gotcha. So you're trying to avoid Ragnarok at all costs.
So the game
Exactly.
is pretty hard. You're not going to win your first
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. If you win, call me.
I'll put his number on Twitter. It'll be fine.
No, no, please don't.
And then the next question is from Ryan Gutowski. How close has Sony been as the game was developed?
Sony,
Or
not
Santa
much,
Monica's
right?
Santa Monica
Santa
Studios.
Monica
We'll,
yeah,
we'll go with that.
all the other work was done with Santa Monica Studio.
Right.
They were really
dying.
close.
Yeah, they were dying
Really
to play the
close,
game.
yeah.
Like we actually got to points where they were like, "Can we play? Can we play?" We're like, "Dude, we're not done yet." Right? Like,
Yeah.
they were in suspense. I think the entire time.
They were really close and they were anxious to play it. And one day, Eric, after they're asking Eric, fly to LA to play a demo version with them.
Mhm.
I was dying. I was nervous. Eric left me 2 hours without any answer, and and I was like, "Did Eric
on
please?"
purpose, I'm sure.
On purpose, for sure.
Yeah.
Like Eric likes to see me suffer. And after 2 hours, Eric sent me a message, "Dude, they love it," and I was like,
I
okay.
didn't write you because we were too busy loving it.
"Yeah." So
Right.
yeah,
Well, we played it and we played immediately again.
yeah. So they were there from the start of the project with creating the lore, the story of the game. They were there playing till the end. They approved all the scenarios, the characters, etc. Was really good and was easy to.
Well, one
work with
really
them.
good example of how what a good partner they were. Tell them about the Valkyries.
Oh, right. Yeah, cool. So one of my favorite bosses in the game are the Valkyries,
Yeah.
and they are pretty hard. So when I was playing the video game after I knew I was the lead designer, I was like, I really want to make this end, but it's not hard enough in the video game. And I was like, what if you play against three Valkyries at the same time? And they actually approved. So one of the possible ends is by trying to kill three Valkyries at the same time.
Yeah, they were super cool about that.
Yeah,
Like
it was super cool.
it's not always the case, right? Sometimes you work on licensed game,
Mhm.
they're like, no, no, do it exactly like the game. These guys were like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, play. The whole point was,
From the beginning, they were there like, we want to make this a branch of our story. How can we make this without affecting the arc they're creating for the video game? And I think we found a really good spot for this game.
And are there other aspects from the video game that you really enjoyed that you were able to bring into this game?
Yes, yes, they were. Uh, but actually, what was more cool to do is trying to find different things from the video game to bring to the card game. Actually, one of the biggest challenge we have when you do a game, there is a franchise, is trying to get the same feeling but a different experience. I
Mhm.
believe the feeling we could got from the game, it's still action, it's still puzzle, which are big in God of War. We have a solid story, which is another big thing in this last God of War version. But we have as well different things from the video game. For example, you can play with characters that you cannot play in the video game.
Mhm.
It's a cool thing because while I was playing, I was like, "What Freya does? How? What if I could play Freya here instead of Kratos? What if I can play the Blacksmith brothers?" And actually, during the game, you can play them.
Oh,
And
cool.
Mimir is ahead, as Eric keeps saying. Uh, and we could come to four different endings from the video game. For example, spoiler alert, I'm sorry, you actually kill Baldur in the video game, and here in the card game, you cannot kill him. If you kill him, you trigger Ragnarok. So we came up with a different final quest here in which you have to trap Baldur instead of killing him, so the Ragnarok is not triggered.
Spoilers.
yeah.
All right.
One of the cool things, I mean, God of War is an amazing immersive video game with amazing, like, great graphics, great sound, amazing story, right? And it's as a video game, it's in your face, it's kinesthetic, it's full experience. So I mean, as a card game, of course, we're not going to compete with that. But God of War has a puzzle element all over it, right? So that was a natural translation. So we just kind of
Yeah.
took that, dialed that up to 11, because card games are very, very good at that,
Mhm.
and amped up the 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 twitch factor was simulated with the very slight luck factor in the deck.
Mhm.
And then we have a question over here in the audience.
Touching on the story line as well, did SMS come into it with any recommendations or anything they wanted to see as far as the story, or was that left entirely to the design team to come up with?
So, question from the audience is: did SMS come up with where they wanted the story to go, or was that completely coming from your side of the?
Yes.
It was it was more like a back and forth.
Right.
We came up with something. We sent them like a few options. We decide together, right? We
Right.
talked to Jeff,
Right.
and
I
we
think they asked us first, right? They wanted us to come up with a story first.
Yeah,
And then
we
like, no,
send
not
them.
that one.
Yeah, like we send them three options, and they say no, and then we tried again and again, and one day for this story they were like, okay, this one, let's work on this one, and then we started working, changing emails, and since we got to the final product, the final story with them.
Yeah, the Norn
So
angle was really cool because it accessed a point in it accessed characters in the game that you don't know that well, right? So
Mhm.
you get a cool, unique perspective in this that you're not getting in the video game.
Yeah.
Another question from the audience.
Hi, more on the gameplay side, you had said there were 10 quest cards, but also were there 10 mosaics?
Yes.
Those,
So-
and those,
e-
how do you choose which mosaic you're going to play and the variety?
So,
So each-
question from the audience: you said there were 10 quest cards, Are there 10 mosaics? Like, how does that aspect of the game play out?
So each quest maps to an exact mosaic, right? So
Yeah. So, for example, the ogre. The ogre. This is a quest card, in which we'll be accessing the ogre mosaic. Okay. Here you find all the information you need. You have like a minor lore here, story. You have special rules for this mosaic if there are so. You have winning conditions and sometimes different losing conditions. So basically, 10 quests mean 10 different scenarios.
so you'll so the quest deck is separate, right? That's the cool reverse pyramid that Alex built. You'll shuffle those, and then you'll choose which one, read the lore, and then once you've picked which quest you're going to do, you grab the corresponding mosaic from the box, you unwrap it, you put it on the table, and it's cool. So this is the dragon mosaic.
Yeah.
Good luck with
It's
that.
one of the bosses, actually.
Wonderful. And another question from online. Ryan Gutowski asks, you mentioned Freya has a ranged attack. How does this work on the mosaic?
Alright, so ranged attacks in Mosaic works that you can reach the second row. Okay, so only ranged attacks can interact with this row here. All
Right.
right. In order to balance this, melee attacks are usually a little bit more stronger since you have less access.
Okay.
But
So Kratos with his many melee attacks is generally going to be stronger and mostly going to hit the front of the
Yeah.
dragon in this case. But Atreus can always come in and be like, poop,
yeah,
well, maybe not here, but
yeah, and attack the upper row. Of course, like it may happen that you do not have a ranged attack in any one of the characters you choose, but the game does not need that you have like that you. The game is made in a way that it's not needed to have ranged attacks, but they are good.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Captain Stitch asks, not sure if this delves too much into licensing and such, but can you talk about the decision to make the Blacksmith Brothers into a single character rather than two separate characters?
All right.
that's a gameplay one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
we can talk about
Actually, I love asymmetry. This is a word,
Asymmetry, yep.
asymmetry, in the games. So I always try to make characters very different from the gameplay perspective. So I said, what can I make? They're both kind of support. They're both blacksmith. They upgrade armor and weapon, each one of them. And I was like, how can I make this a different gameplay experience? What if I make some of the players controlling both? And it's cool because I could use this to my favor. So with the Blacksmith Brothers, you actually have a few special cards that creates a synergy between them. For example, you can play a card that says, after this attack, attack again with the other brother. They have two special abilities here, so every time you attack, you have only one hand, just like the other characters. But every time you attack, you can choose which one is attacking. So you can choose which one of the special abilities better fit your party.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah, I think also like the each one individually, they're pretty narrow, right, in their ability set. So wanted to make characters that you could justify having a like a wide variety of different strategies to go for.
Mm-hmm.
So by putting them both together, which is a great idea, I think was pretty brilliant. Like
Thank you.
you got to, you're welcome. Like, well, that is a really good. It's a really good way of saying like we're going to take these two characters that are very very narrow and go, let's make one character that is by themselves robust and cool and different.
And talking
I
about
mean, they're no head,
yeah,
but
talking about asymmetry. Here's Mimir. I was like, dude, we have like a head. Let's use it.
so
And
I
I was talking to Eric like,
I gotta talk up this one. I'm sorry, he's my favorite. He's
yeah,
my
go
guy.
ahead, go
Alright,
ahead.
He's
alright,
my guy,
alright.
right?
Have fun, Eric.
Like if you guys play if anybody who plays RPGs or even MMOs stuff, like if you like the idea of being a buff bot, like the one who supports the party, if making everybody else in the party amazing makes you feel awesome, this is the guy to play. Right? He's no, like Alex said, he's no attacks by himself, but just having him in your party makes everybody else's attacks better, makes everybody draw cards. It's always good to be close to him. But of course, he has 4 hit points. He's really easy to kill.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He kind of always has to accompany somebody else. It uses up a slot. So in a way, I mean, this is in our group, so we played away from those guys. But in our group was like one of the producers in Singapore was like, all right, this is kind of a little bit like football. Who's going to carry Mimir around with them
And that's true.
and,
You,
and pass him
you cannot
around, right?
move with Mimir. You need to throw the head
That's right.
to the other player.
That's right, and it feels different, right? So
Mhm.
it's every player has a different play style, but I love playing support characters. And I love making the whole party better.
Mhm.
But of course, he is a character, so the game like it's not a no-brainer, right?
Mhm.
Having a buff bot in the party still makes the game a third player's worth of difficulty.
Yeah.
Right, right. And we're kind of touching on this a little bit as we're talking about these different characters, but can you tell us more about just the co-op aspect in general, right? Like, are you truly dependent on the other players? I think we've touched on it here
Mhm.
and there, but
Okay, so since it's a cooperative game, I like to design it in a way that is a little bit harder at the beginning, and when players realize they can talk to each other, they can decide together a plan for each one of the rounds, they will for sure succeed. Not for sure, they will probably succeed. So this one of the aspects. It's really try to cooperate. You have you have like cards that you can use to support your allies that you can play in order to the other character uh, makes a better turn, okay, a better action. So it's really important to communicate first and act later. One other big cooperative aspect of the game is the positioning. It's really really important uh, to think about positioning before acting.
Right, and
So
turn order too.
yeah, in turn order too. So you can actually, I'm really fan of those games that you need to someone needs to tank and another one needs to heal, the classic party, right? So yes, like you have to discuss because if you leave just Mimir in the front, he'll for sure die. So it's probably a good idea to
Not a fun play.
become the tank of the party, go in the front, while someone becomes more attack driven and he's the one who's giving damage.
Right. Yeah, you have to split up. You have to split up tasks, right?
Yeah.
Like there are the different parts, especially the dragon. Different parts have more hit points, right? So the ones that are close by, if Kratos can deal, like Kratos is gonna really deliver a big swing unless he gets
Yeah.
super unlucky. So we might have to be like, Kratos, dude, you got to take care of the claw,
Mm-hmm.
right? And meanwhile, Atreus will go here, but if he's low on health, he might have to take care of this one instead, while hiding behind Atreus. Mimir does whatever he wants.
as long as someone's helping him get there, though.
Well, yeah, true fact. But you're like, dude, you'll be way better if you take me over here.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about what it was like creating this game? Like, what was the timeline? What are some of the bigger challenges you faced as you were coming up with it?
All right. The challenge, the biggest challenge we always have is to trying to recreate this game as a card game. When you get like some other IP that is not a video game, you can start thinking how the game will play. But when you get an IP that's already a game, it's really really hard because we are not trying to give players the same experience. Otherwise, they will be turning on their PS4 and go play there because it's already well executed there. So you want to give a different experience. However, it's still the same IP. You still need to feel that you're playing God of War. So this was the first challenge, and I believe the second challenge was the time. Like everything went really fast with SMS, and we are able to get the IP from one day. was like we had like a good communication with them.
Mhm.
So they were like, Alexis, God of War, we have, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months to the whole process. So design was really fast. The developers worked a lot, and they could actually uh, improve the game a lot, but was again really fast. Production as well, like running
The
make
tough
the
part
game.
was, even though
Yeah,
you had a short timeline, we still had a standard, right? We still have to make the God of War game that
exactly,
millions of players are going to want to play.
exactly.
Right. Of
We
course.
still, of course, need to come up with a really good product
Right.
because it's God of War, the best game of 2018.
Well,
That's a really big pressure.
and you had a pretty sizable team working on it between
Yes,
design, development,
yes.
production. Like,
hmm
how does that break out? Obviously, you
yeah.
worked with Fel on this.
Due to the small amount of time, we expanded the team. So I have by my side Fel, which is my partner in crime. We start this whole board game thing together, and it's my first co-design with him. So I designed it with Fel. We had brilliant developers behind. We have Fabio Curi. We had Marco Portugal, which killed himself to do all the math of this game, to understand like if the game is uh, uh, giving the players what I wanted to give, it's giving the feeling, etc.
And Fabio Curry has, you guys might know him from, he's the currently developer of Song of Ice and
Yeah, Song
Fire.
of Ice and Fire. And Marco
Marco is from
Portugal is
Gizmos.
the developer of Gizmos
And Foodies, which is one
and
of our upcoming
Foodies.
games.
Yeah. So I had actually Jordi Adam, which was the guy who came up with the solo mode. I was one day like working, and we had ton of stuffs, and he was like, "Hey, what if the solo mode is just like this?" And I was like, "Brilliant, it's done. Let's move." And
It wasn't done.
yeah. So I had, of course, Eric as game director and big guru. He helped me crush my dreams to come up with this product. In production, I have Gaio and Isa. They did excellent work. They killed themselves to come up with everything, make sure everything was right.
And to farm through thousands of images that were very, very high resolution
Yeah,
to
exactly.
find, because this is an art project, right? We had to
Mhm.
find exactly the right
The
pieces
right
of art
piece. Yeah,
that they would approve.
I gave them a headache for
Sure.
sure, like of all the art needed and the things. And we had
You didn't just draw it yourself?
sorry.
No? You didn't just draw it yourself?
Well, he drew
Yeah,
half. I drew the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to show the prototype one day. To be a
Yeah.
shame for me, but it's really cool.
It was
The
not that
prototype I
bad.
do.
It was not that
It's my-
bad.
every
Just the
time,
iconography was
every
bad.
time I prototype, I cut papers and draw on it, but I'm just not a good designer. So, and of course, from the graphic design team, I had Gabriel Bergi. He was the lead graphic designer. I had Max working on that as well, and Julie working on the rulebook. The three of them were guided by Mathieu, who is our art director. And of course, we had SMS Studio all along working
All
with
along the
us.
way.
hmm
And we had our Mr. Hollywood, Jeff Skinner, as our
All
licensing
right.
director, who
Our
was who
Hollywood superstar.
who translated our sort of OCD gameness into
Yeah.
terms that were palatable.
He was he was the one who made all our crazy ideas randomly written into a really good story that was approved by SMS. So thank you, Jeff.
Very important part. Very important part of the
Mhm.
process. All right. Do we have any other questions from the audience while because we're kind of getting towards the last 5-10 minutes. So yes.
So, I hear a lot about the inspiration you get from the designers of the IP, right? From the video game designers. Have they shared stories with you of how your board game design has inspired them and where they're headed with their IP or their project?
Oh, we can't say that. I mean, they loved our game, right? And the thing is, I mean, the game is really fresh, right? Like, we played it with them for the first time, what, 3 months ago? No, oh my God, no, way longer than that. What month is it?
What
Yeah,
year we are?
we played like 3 or 4 months ago with them for the first time,
Yeah.
and video games
But
go forever.
Yeah, but
right?
usually they're really close to their story, their information. So
And we
if
can't give you any
somehow, yeah, if
spoilers of their
somehow
stuff.
we changed their mind with our game, we will never know probably.
Oh, well,
And
no, but not
One
now.
day maybe having a beer they tell us, but I don't know.
and for the folks online, the question was, have have you seen any cases where you have inspired some of the work of the video game just the way that they inspire some of your work here? Which these lovely folks just answered. Any other questions from the audience? Yes. Uh huh. So the question is, do you see God of War being a larger scale game uh, with more
So
mechanics?
we are CMON. You know what kind of games we make. We're here to talk about the card game.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Does answer your question? Great.
Awesome, wonderful.
you,
Oh yes.
I just wanted to ask, is this
you have a
the
question?
type of game that you see potential for expansions, or is this a pretty self-contained game that you think that this would be all to the card game like that?
The question from the audience is: do you see this game having expansions sometime in the future?
I mean, it's
Well,
as expandable as any
Yeah,
as
we
anything we've ever
always every
made.
time we design, we leave it open for expansions. If the
Right.
game performs well, there's no why we cannot do expansions. There's a lot of design room to work on. We can come up with different scenarios.
There's a ton of lore, and the game
It's a
system is
very deep
super
IP.
robust,
Yeah.
right? Like this, I mean, this is a fraction of the stuff that was actually designed for it.
Mhm.
We just spent a lot
Yeah.
of time curating it for the
W-
optimal
we
experience
yeah
here.
that was different from other design I usually do because we had to cut things and not add things. So we still have like a lot of design room to add to any possible expansions, but we don't have any solid plan right now.
So buy lots of copies, and
Yeah.
right.
Ria, I believe there's a question there.
Oh yes.
You mentioned turn order is important, like the order. So I'm assuming, so if you're Kratos, you're not the first player every turn. The players decide who goes for the most benefit. Is that correct?
So the question is: turn order. Do the players decide who goes in what order, or is it rotating?
It's rotating. So the first time you guys will be playing, you decide who will be the first player. But after that, as a usual game, you pass to your left the Leviathan X, which is the first player token.
So yeah, right. So for example, like Kratos, Atreus, and me, will be placed like this. So Kratos will go. And turn order is important, as you can see, right? Kratos goes first. He can go here by himself and leave a space for somebody else, or he can decide right off the bat, like, no, I'm going to tank for you now, or I'm going to hang out with you. And as you can see, like decisions are before you even play any cards. The decisions are all about what are you going to deal with, who you're going to deal it with, and who's going to be taking the damage.
Yeah.
Question over here on the left.
As an IP, it's obvious what inspires the story, but from the card play and mechanics, would you say there's any other card games out there that you took inspiration from that you might name?
So the question from the audience is: obviously, there's a lot of inspiration from the IP, but are there other games out there, non-video games, that you are taking inspiration from this? From this as well?
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys, when you pitched it, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's really original.
This mosaic here, we came up with is actually Marco Portugal. We discuss a lot between the team, even if it's not my game, and we give each other ideas. That idea came from Marco, actually, from some sort of inspiration that I don't know. And after that, I took it with Fel and we worked through it. But the deck building mechanic, I came up with the deck building mechanic. I'm the first one that thinking about deck building
Has ever
mechanic.
done a deck builder ever?
No, I'm just kidding. Like, yeah, this is the new mechanic called deck building, and no, this one we got inspiration. I love deck building, so I was like, I can add to this game. I'll do this. If does it fit? Does it work? It is
Yeah.
synergic with this mosaic that is the spotlight of the game, and the answer was yes all along the playtest. So I keep it that way.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like oh, we like deck building, let's throw it in, right? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
it we.
Hmm.
I don't even know if deck. I don't remember deck building being part of the first pitch. I think it was
No, no, no,
we're just
no.
we're gonna
Yeah,
work on we're gonna have this cool hand management
sure,
mechanic,
sure.
right? And then we're talking. I remember we were talking
Yeah.
about like, well, make sure that we can escalate, right?
Hmm.
Make sure it dramatically gets better round after round, and deck building is a really good
Yeah,
tool for that.
yeah, exactly. The first time, the design changed a lot from the start of the idea to the end, and the first one wasn't deck building. That's true, and when we saw it, deck building was fitting really well the game. And of course, we like that deck building, but I like tons of other
Right.
mechanics. And
That's right, because at first it wasn't even individual decks. That's why,
exactly,
right? And then as
exactly.
soon as it became individual decks, it was very natural. Like, well, we want
Hmm.
to advance our decks, and we didn't want it to be a die rolling game. Except,
You have one because we're cool mini or not.
right,
You have a dice.
right.
Uh,
We didn't explain how that
yeah,
works.
the dice is a drama addition to the game. Basically, every time you attack, you will roll the die to see how much the monster absorbed from your damage. The So the game is not like 100% sure I know what I'm going to do. There is a little bit of drama, and you be using the die to a few cards that explain you how to use that. For example, to trap Baldur, you'll be rolling the dice to try to trap him and some other sort of things.
Right. I think that's really cool though, right? Because you have like when Kratos goes to attack, say he wants to go to attack the pod. The pod's has 6 hit points, so Kratos can go like the die is two sides are 0, two sides are 1, one that's 2, and one that's 5 absorption. So there's if that's a good incentive to not just throw everything onto one attack,
Mm-hmm.
because you might get mostly foiled,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes you just have to do it, and count on the not 1 and 6. But you end up doing a little bit of push your luck. How much of my hand am I going to use? How much can I risk being absorbed? You get that really cool drama moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember we argued about that, right?
Yeah.
We argued about that a
Yeah,
little
we're
bit,
arguing
right?
about the
And
dicing.
then
That's
we
true.
saw when we saw the wow moment, like everybody cheering that the attack went off against
Mm-hmm.
all odds.
Yeah,
That's important,
that's cool
right?
because the dice was Eric idea, but my name is on the box, so sorry, Eric.
Ideas are the easy part.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. We have time for one more question, if there's one more question in the audience. Did we get all the questions? Oh, no, we did. We have one more. Okay.
Okay, so God of War is classical for its executions. Was that and like, did you guys decide to put it in for a mechanic or an artwork piece, or how did you work in the execution?
So,
So God of War, the question from the
Okay.
audience is God of War is known for having executions. Is that integrated into the card game in some form?
So, one of the possible actions are interactions with the mosaic. Okay, in order to interact, you have to play the exact cards that are in the interaction. Yes, there are a few monsters that you have to play the exact sequence in order to finally kill him. So, it's not like a main thing of the game, but you will find it there.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't say like on the card,
Yeah.
execute, right?
Yeah.
But you get that feeling, right? Because you're setting him up, you're laying him down, and then your finishing blow really feels like you finish him, right?
Yeah.
Not to cross IP.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today at CMON Expo. I hope those of you here, have a wonderful expo. Those of you in the UK, I hope you have a wonderful show there as well. We will be having the next panel is Bloodborne here in about 30 minutes. I think it's about
I
30
think
minutes.
so.
So feel free to stay tuned for that one and start asking questions now because we're already getting some of those queued up. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks,
for
everyone.
coming.